and sign on IG as a guest speaker. Like say, I want to join maybe I can add you.
Okay.
Invite to join. Let's see. There you are. You joined already.
Got it.
Yes. Hey, Cynthia. All right. I'm going to lower this and then just turn the volume down on your phone.
Okay.
I lost you.
Oh, did I leave? Hang on.
There you go. All right. Cool.
Just keep myself there.
Everyone's kind of like, what are they doing? All right, let's get started. So I am here with Cynthia Ray. Cynthia, what's up? Hi. So first, hi. So I just wanted to talk about how we met because you're in Idaho, but we grew up basically both in the San Fernando Valley. We're like in the same area, which is pretty cool. And I was looking, I'm in part of the mom groups and the birth worker groups in Conejo Valley and Simi Valley, Ventura, Los Angeles, everything. And so your name popped up and I was looking for someone, a dietitian that had some knowledge on hormones and postpartum, because I have my clients, I have my groups that we do master classes. So I have been on a search for someone, and then you just pop. I have experience in that. I was like, oh yes. And then we find out that you live in Idaho, but we grew up at the same area. You went to Chaminade, so like opposed to Granada. You're the private school. So that was so cool. And then we started talking, and I realized that I am like your target audience. Like I am over 40. I was going through all this inflammation and feeling crappy, and then we just met, and I kind of dived in deeper onto what you do, and I was able to come up with your 2 books, and literally it was like the week it was released, it turns out. So I'm like, oh my God, this book's free for this week.
It is.
And it's so exciting. And they're like, I'm actually releasing it this week. And I said, this is amazing. Let's get you on the podcast and start talking. So please, I'm sorry, I always do this. I always start talking too much right in the beginning, but introduce yourself to us and we'll have some questions.
Yeah. Actually, I have my phone on Instagram. I'm gonna see if I can just do it on another tab on my laptop. That way it's not echoey. Hang on one sec.
Yeah, that helps.
Because I'm trying to turn the volume down, but here we go. Let me see if I can make this.
And while you do that, you're gonna sign. Perfect. And you'll sign back on. So the book that you just came out with is called The Fastest Way to Fat Loss Over 40. And that's me. I'm your target right there. Yeah. And it's all about losing weight and breaking walls down and like mental shifts in the way you're thinking about food and your body. And you give your history and your story there behind it, growing up as a girl in the Valley in Los Angeles with, I'm sure, the social around the movies and TV and what we should look like. You went to an all-girls school, which probably didn't help anything. But even I, in elementary school, started feeling the pressures of being skinny, and then you go through adolescence with the hormonal changes, and then you break out, and then all this stuff is going on, and it just doesn't help anything. Everything's packed on to each other. Maybe tell us a little backstory before we jump into your book and what's going on right now. About that time period when you were feeling kind of the pressure of a body image and the outside world, and what that did to your thought process, because I feel like that's going to connect with so many people.
Yeah. So I kind of got going back a little bit more. So anyway, thank you for having me, by the way.
Oh,
this is awesome. I love that we're doing this together. It's just amazing timing. Actually, last weekend when you said, let's do a interview podcast together, I was like, oh, perfect timing, because this is my book launch week. So let's go for it. Anyway, so I grew up in Simi Valley, born and raised Simi Valley, California, and went to school in the San Fernando Valley in Chaminade, which is actually, it's co-ed. So there's boys and girls, but still lots of pressure. I grew up, Yeah,
Oh,
it is. Yeah. So I grew up
oh, come
there
on.
and basically like learned, just like many other moms in the 70s and 80s who were doing the cabbage soup diet and Weight Watchers and all the things and wanting to be, maintain their beauty and their youngness, I guess you would say, remain young as long as they could. So dieting was a big part of my upbringing. So watching my mom diet and, do things, whatever she could to maintain her weight and whatever, which like is understandable. But for me, it became more of part of who I was. So my identity was wrapped up with how I looked. So I was, since I was little, I was an athlete. I just love competitive sports and just love how I feel when I do that. So I was always competitive and always ready for a new challenge. So growing up, I was always athletic. My mom would say, "Oh, you're so thin, you're so fit, you're just like my mom." So it became my identity. What I look like, it wasn't about who I was as my character. It was more so like my performance, sports performance usually, and then academic as well. And I'm just my person. I'm a type A personality. I'm trying to keep that on, keep that, get healthier with that. But that's my nature. And I'm embracing that as well because it helps me to do big things that I really am proud of. But I also, it can be one of those things too, where it can be where you do too much, and it becomes stressful because if you're not performing, then who are you? Who am I? If I'm not performing, if I don't look thin and fit, um, I don't have anything else, right? My parents take pride in me for that. So um, that was my main pressure, was just mainly like not knowing who I really am, but using my physical appearance and my academics to be my front for who I was. So that's how I ended up in high school, restrictive dieting, which turned later into anorexia and bulimia, which turned into exercise addiction, and just trying to like chase my weight and make sure that I didn't lose that thing that was my primary identity, that I was always thin and fit, that people were looking up to me for what I did, that I could, basically be the leader in my area, in my field, even in college. Like, okay, I'm studying dietetics. I'm going to tell everybody what to do, which got translated now, but turned into something bad, where it was self destructive and harmful. And really had to, and once I went into recovery and late in college, really had to look back and into my heart and find out what's really going on inside me that's driving me to self destruct. Um, and so that took about a year of intense treatment and therapy and everything. And the closer I got to getting better, the worse it got, which is kind of common when people are coming out of something, an addiction or different patterns. But it got really bad and was admitted to the hospital with potential heart attack, but it was fine. I wasn't diagnosed with that in the ER. They said it was just severe heartburn from purging. And so after that, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, I got this far. If I had to be admitted to the hospital, that just says that I was that far into my eating disorder. Like, it was a sense of accomplishment for me, which sounds so backwards. But then I quickly realized, you know what? I want to have kids someday. I want to get pregnant someday. I want to have a family someday. But at that time in my life, I couldn't because of my health. And so for me, that was a big part of my turnaround, was my fertility, in the future. And so, and then also my athleticism. I always loved competitive sports, and I couldn't compete as an athlete like I was before because my body wasn't doing it, and I was isolating. I didn't have the friendships that I used to have. And anyway, fun recovery, was amazing, total turnaround story. And then, yeah, and then started years later, had my kids, which was amazing. I got pregnant easily all 3 times. I had beautiful, easy pregnancy, not easy with the pregnancy, but easily getting pregnant. The pregnancies we talked about before, I didn't have the best symptoms, a lot of nausea and yeah, not great. But I'm
Oh, no, that's
blessed with,
genetic. It's
yeah,
fine.
exactly right. Thanks,
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So after all that, yeah, have been able to, over the past almost 30 years, educate women, mostly in a private practice setting, who have or had eating disorders, or who had a chronic dieting, had been struggling with chronic dieting over the years, or body image issues or anything like that, which is many women in our culture, because it's normal in our culture to diet and to feel like you need to look your best on the surface. So I did that for about 30 years and started writing books and teaching online courses and still do one-on-one counseling.
Amazing. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah, so we come to these same places as women and with different whys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like why did I
Mm,
feel self-conscious about my body as an elementary school kid?
right.
Why was I, starving myself but then pigging out on a cookie when I had a chance?
Mm-hmm.
And you came with this like more athletic toned, like I have to
Mm-hmm.
keep a certain standard for my body. And then it just escalated when you go into college and now you are
Mm-hmm.
studying and trying to be this expert in the same thing. So now you have to portray yourself as this, and
Mm-hmm.
that had to have been a struggle. So I'm
Yeah.
yeah, so happy that you got the help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Most women, I feel like, even the ones that aren't diving and putting their whole body and college degree in the area are still, it's still in their minds, it's still in their
Mm-hmm.
heads. So much of it, like you said, is the people that we look up to, our mothers or
Mm-hmm.
celebrities or whoever it may be, our
Mm-hmm.
grandparents. My mom was obsessed with her weight. And
Mm-hmm.
from the time I was in elementary school, when I was a little kid, I would go sneak to have candy corn. She's like, "You're going to get fat." It was never about the sugar or being healthy or anything. It was just fat. You don't want to be fat. Don't be
Right.
chubby. Don't be chubby. It was just like in my head from such a young,
Yes.
because she
Yeah.
was she was projecting, because her mom
Mm-hmm.
projected on her. Mom was a model. My mom
Mm-hmm.
was a model and ballerina. They just pushed it
Oh.
all on me, and I had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved athletics in high school because it probably got me thin, like it got me in shape. So
Right.
I went hard in it as well. So I totally get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's all about finding, and you go into this in your book, the book that you released right now.
Mm-hmm.
It, tell me if I'm getting this wrong. The fastest way to fat loss at age of 40?
Yeah,
After,
I'll show
after
you. Yeah, I
40?
have it here. I have it here. I'll show you. Yeah,
Yes,
the
the
faster
fast
way to
way.
fat loss after 40. Yeah, and there's a bunch of subtitles. Proven methods for balancing hormones naturally, boosting metabolism, and achieving sustainable weight loss for vibrant health and longevity. So,
Right?
got all
And
of those
that
in. Yeah.
hormone shift and losing weight, that's something that's on our mind from adolescence to our 20s to fertility.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh
when we
yeah.
want to get pregnant, they're always like, oh, hormones,
Yeah.
hormones. You have to lose weight. You have to gain weight. You have to, okay, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
And we're pregnant. Now our bodies are changing so much. We're going through
Mm-hmm.
these huge hormonal shifts that we've never experienced before. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
postpartum and you have 30 pounds of extra weight. And they said, well, take your time with it. You'll lose it with breastfeeding. But again, it's these hormonal changes and mental. And your book goes through
Mm-hmm.
that it's mental, physical, spiritual.
Mm-hmm. And
You
emotional.
definitely tie in your Christian background and your
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, and bring those, connect those with how you're viewing your own body as a
Mm-hmm.
temple
Yeah.
and what you're putting into it. And it's such a
Mm-hmm.
strong correlation that I never even thought of. What made you,
Yeah.
obviously you have a strong Christian background, but what made you connect those things and put them in the book like that?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's funny because I get chills thinking about it. Everything you said, it was like, wow, that's so true. Just hearing somebody else say it. So yeah, it's just so neat. Anyway, but yeah, so a huge part of my, well, recovery, my upbringing, I grew up Catholic Christian and then grew up in a Protestant school. So it's such a cliche word, but spiritual, but I'm a Christian, but more have a relationship with God than just follow a religious thing. It's personal. But anyway, so a big part of my recovery, actually a huge part of my recovery and overcoming was my faith. So allowing lots of people praying for me to heal and lots of people praying for me to get out of bondage from this horrible thing that was overcoming me. And because of that, I'm grateful every day, and I thank God every day for rescuing me. And yeah, so I working with eating disorders in private practice and also in group treatments as a practitioner. I've seen a lot of things happening. So I've been a lot of different treatment centers, and I've seen when you walk in there, it feels kind of eerie. It feels like, I don't know how to describe it, but you're just like, it doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like you're going into a not really an insane asylum, but basically.
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah,
Right?
like
Okay.
board.
Yes, exactly.
They're
And
taking away
so,
the stimulation. They
yeah.
want all like do not be distracted by any literally anything.
Yeah. So then, and then I've also been into ones who are faith-based recovery programs. Totally different vibe. There's a high vibe and low vibe. High vibe is, happy, positive, joyful. Um, what's the word? Hopeful. And then low vibe is more like, this is where people come to get worse.
Yeah.
So, in part of that, just from my own personal experience, working with women for so many years, and I've in my private practice, I really never brought in my personal faith unless somebody else was sharing the same thing. Then I would pray with them, but not until I started writing books. I'm like, you know what? I need to bring this in because we call it triune beings. We're body, soul, spirit, and intellect, right? So there's all parts of us, and if any of those parts of us are missing in a behavior change process or in growth, you're not going to have a full impact of what you could have potentially, right, with making this change. If one of those is missing, it may last for a little bit, but it's going to fizzle out pretty quickly. And then we're just going to keep going in a cycle and then coming back to it, starting all over again and then falling off and coming back to it. So that's why in anything that I write, I talk a lot about all of those aspects and addressing those mental and spiritual first. I always talk about foundationally before we even go into behavior. And then we talk about how to lose weight and how to balance your hormones, the physical stuff, because it's easy to follow a program. Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and that. But if your foundation, your faith, or your belief about what you can accomplish isn't there, or you don't, or you're always self-sabotaging yourself every time you try something new, it's not going to work. It's the core, which is what I did myself in my own recovery, is you have to work from the core out, right? Otherwise, it's not going to stick. So
100%. Oh yeah, it's
mm-hmm.
so mental. I feel like
Yeah,
most rehabilitation or diet
mm-hmm.
programs, for them
Right.
to be successful, they have to start with where your mind's at,
Mm-hmm.
and the why and the history. How'd you get there?
Yeah.
The first like 5 chapters of your book, I just felt was like an amazing therapy session. And I think I even put a note like it feels like you're sitting right there with me,
Oh, good.
talking to me. I'm like, oh, this is really nice. And I'm not. I don't consider myself Christian or any religion. I'm more
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, like you said. But
Mm-hmm.
the scriptures were very like
Yeah.
they connect very well. The words are
Mm-hmm.
obviously very inspiring and they make sense. And so it didn't feel off at all to connect
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual world,
Mm-hmm.
and because it could be whatever you believe.
Mm-hmm.
But it also connected me to who you are and where you're
Mm-hmm.
coming from. It just elevated it a bit, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Awesome.
Which
Yeah, that's exactly was my goal. I'm
yeah, which
glad you
made
felt
me
that way.
trust you a bit more.
Yay.
And I was like, okay, this is great. I couldn't put it down. I was like,
Yay.
I gotta get to sleep. My eyes are burning. And I told you I got to the part with the parasites, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm done for tonight.
I need a fresh mind for that.
My stomach's all like bubbling. I'm like, oh, it's the parasites. But the first five chapters were definitely like so easy to read. I
Oh,
just
good.
breezed through them. For anyone looking for a really significant book to understand what's going on with your body and how to get there,
Mm-hmm.
first mentally and wrap your head around it. But it doesn't have to be this like drawn out therapy session where you go weekly for months and months. I read it in one night and I was like, okay, I'm getting it. And
Yeah.
I'll probably read it a couple more times because you
Yeah.
really need that for it to
Mm-hmm.
click. Right.
Yeah. And to journal and however. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the journals. We're diving into those false narratives.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the term that you use, but it's these ideas that
Mm-hmm.
we're just creating for ourselves. They're, how did you call it? They're
Like a false vision for yours.
limiting beliefs.
Limiting beliefs. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you
That
have to
keep you
change
stuck.
that, right? It doesn't have to be, but it could be and. So many people are telling me these don't use but use and,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can do this. Like, like I'm so tired, but and I will still go take a walk,
Yeah.
right?
Do it tired.
Right.
Just do
So
it in your
so much
current
is
state.
mental. Yeah, it's very
Mhm.
mindful, it's very present, and it's very
Mhm.
honest about diving in and journaling about what you're going through. And this
Mhm.
is something that I teach our women and my clients just preparing for birth, because so much
Mhm.
of it is accepting and understanding your body for what it is in this moment, and being mindful about it,
Mhm.
and doing the work to prepare,
Mhm.
and then it's all about that preparation and then doing it. So in
Yes.
order for you to really have success with whatever you're trying to do, whether it's weight loss or um, balance out your moods,
Mhm.
or if
Mhm.
it's something with relationship or money, like you have to make a plan, you have to dive in a little deeper, like what are the real reasons that you're
Mhm.
having these blocks, right? And so
Yes.
many
Yeah.
women will just go like, well, I'm never going to learn enough
Mm.
about childbirth like to stand up to a doctor or question them. So I'm just going to do my yoga, my prenatal yoga, and
Mhm.
stretch as I will, and just go
Mhm.
in and, we'll go with the flow, and I'll just
Mhm.
trust my doctor for a safe baby, and I hope for a healthy delivery. And if I need a C-section, it's okay. Well, more than likely, you're gonna probably end
I
up.
was gonna say, yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. If that's what you want, yeah. I mean, I'm huge in that too, is vision, like creating the vision. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a really good example because I shared you with me my birth stories last time. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, like creating that vision for what you want is so powerful, and holding on to it. And even like talk about that in my book a lot.
Yes.
But knowing what you're going for, then just saying, okay, I'm just gonna go in and do this, have the baby. Well, is then you're gonna do that. You're just gonna go in, and whatever happens, happens.
Mhm.
But if you have like you said, have a plan or set an intention or create a vision, like what is it going to look like? I don't know if that's part of the process, but I don't remember doing that. But
1,000%.
creating I guess writing your birth story, right? Writing your ideal birth
Uh-huh.
story.
Uh-huh.
And then I did hypnobirthing with my second son, so a lot of it was mindfulness meditation and just visualizing the process. Athletes do it all the time, like professional athletes. I remember watching the Olympics, and before the runners started going, they were talking to themselves, and I'm like, because they're speaking words of affirmation, like I'm a champion,
Yeah.
I got this, you got this, you're ready for this, like all these things. And you can coach yourself,
Mhm.
but in scripture it talks about there's the power of life and death is in the tongue. So if what you say has so much of, even what you think, your body is still listening, has an impact on your outcome. So there's so much power in being intentional or
Yeah.
mindful in life in general than just
Get to
letting
know,
life.
like, understand how our body works, understand
Yes.
hormones, understand, what is the difference between calorie and calorie out. We can talk about that more
Yeah.
in a minute too.
Sure.
Um, so understanding then how our body works in childbirth, or how the hospital system works,
Yes.
how, what are the most common interventions, what decisions may
Mm-hmm.
you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an understanding of those. You don't have to be an expert by any means, but you have the foundation, you get the basics. And then
Yeah.
now with that knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
visualize your dream birth. Do it. Like, don't be
Yes.
scared
Why
of
not?
it. Why not? Like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine what
Mm-hmm.
I used to swim in high school and college, and I would never get on that, mount. I would never before I dove in, I would always picture myself crossing the finish line with everybody else behind me.
Yes.
I won every race in my head. Now, did I win every
Yes.
race
Mm-hmm.
in real life? Not every time, but you know what? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
you manifest it by putting it out there, and your brain's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, we can do this. You're way
Yeah.
better off imagining your birth and it being the one that you dreamed of. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to deliver in a hospital, then make it in the hospital, but make
Mm-hmm.
it like you hear quiet. Do you want a lot of people around you, or do you want just a few
Mm-hmm.
people? Do you want the
Mm-hmm.
lights dim?
Mm-hmm.
How is the baby coming out? Is there a
Mm-hmm.
bright light on you and everyone's yelling and running around? Or like, no, like, cut
Mm-hmm.
all of that noise out and
Mm-hmm.
imagine the birth you want, and then
Yes.
make that plan based on that dream birth, and then
Mm-hmm.
start discussing it with everybody and then get
Yeah.
that plan in action. So
Yes.
I 1,000%
Yeah.
on board with that, because that's
Yeah.
your best chance of getting that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, you
Mm-hmm.
could be so lucky, right? You could also have an amazing metabolism and eat whatever you want, and you're just genetically mutated to not have any issues with hormones and whatnot. right? Also just go
Maybe
in
later.
prepared and deliver your baby 2 minutes after you get to the hospital, and it was smooth and whatever. Like anything's
Yeah.
possible, but
Yeah. I know.
are you getting in the car? We're also not getting in the car
Yes.
visualizing, well, I'm going to get to that place, so I don't need a seatbelt.
Oh
You know what
gosh.
I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
you still want the knowledge, you still want to prepare for obstacles. Things are
Mm-hmm.
going to come up, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to envision the worst, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's great that you're mentioning that. It's
what's
good that
that?
you're mentioning that. It's great that you're mentioning that because I remember as you're saying that, I'm visualizing all the things that I wanted for my babies. And it
Yeah.
wasn't 100% exactly, but the outcome ultimately was like, it was the beauty, the doula, the ball, the quiet, the dark room, all the things. And then the peace that came after my son was born when we did hypnobirthing. He was so quiet and peaceful. And the nurses are like, wow, he didn't even cry during the bath. I'm like, that's weird. Is he okay? They're like, oh no, he's fine. He's just very peaceful. But like how you speak to your baby, right? In the words I was speaking to him right as they were doing my C-section, and just telling, okay, baby, it's going to be okay. Mommy and daddy are here. You're going to see a bright light. And he just came out so peaceful. And he's my middle, and he's been my busiest, most person friendly little guy. And he's 17 now, but he's been very happy and joyful. But it's funny because he was born so quiet. We always joke about it because when he was little, he was all over the place. We're like, you have it in you still. I just have to go back to teaching you daily mindfulness meditation. You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, his little brain will snap back into it. But yeah, no, there's so much power in that visualizing while it's happening, before it happens, and yeah, and then you just have a better outcome.
And it's a skill. It's a skill that we can take
Yes.
on as the babies are newborns at home, or
Yes.
crazy toddlers running around.
It
Like,
helped.
be present, be mindful. Imagine
Mm-hmm.
the like, set yourself up for a night routine where they're
Mm.
gonna eat their dinner and not fight you for the bath and go to bed. Like, just imagine it and set a plan in place
Mm.
to make that happen, and then
Mm-hmm.
follow your plan. And more likely, will there be obstacles? Yeah, but more likely than not, it will get done, and you'll feel so proud of yourself at the end of the day. You're like, look what I did. And
So
that can
true.
go with like that. And then it can go with yourself, with weight
Yes.
loss and your health, and how we're
Mm-hmm.
managing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are these limiting beliefs? What is the why behind why we want to do something?
Yeah, the why.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
make a plan, dig in deep,
Mm-hmm.
have your vision, and then put it
Mm-hmm.
into practice. And your book's so great because not it gives all of those parts, all of those
Mm-hmm.
pieces, in such an easy read. And we get through the mindfulness, the whys, our limiting beliefs, what is our history, and all of that. And then
Mm-hmm.
what are the tools now that we
Yes.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go? And you literally take us from day one with an amazing diet plan, um, like a shopping list, like no thought. I don't have
Everything. Yeah.
to. I'm excited, and you get to eat that so that you're getting a good cleanse. And I have to just mention right now, because a lot of us that are
Yeah.
listening right now, we're women, maybe we're pregnant, or we are just postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever it is, we're humans, and we have our organs, and we definitely need a good cleanse after we're pregnant. I love, like, heart disease. Like, look at your liver. I was like,
Mm.
what? That blew me away. Your liver needs to detox in order to drop the cholesterol.
Cholesterol. Yep.
We're just so focused on our diet and managing these symptoms, but it was the liver. Okay, you blew my
Mm-hmm.
mind there when I read it.
Yes, I know. That's so cool. I know when I learned that a few years ago, I was like, as a dietitian for so many years, I've been teaching, which is, standard practice in the past,
Yeah,
was, to have a diet high in soluble fiber and exercise and lots of water and all that stuff to clear cholesterol, which does have its place, but your liver is not taking care of the actual problem, which is your liver. So if
yeah,
your liver is full of toxins, so your liver's primary job is to metabolize fats along with your gallbladder. So, and hormones too. But if your liver is clogged up with toxins, it can't do its job and metabolize fats properly. And fats are the precursor to hormone production as well. So it's all in cortisol. It's a whole other thing. But if your liver isn't clear, no matter what kind of weight management program you're doing, it might work at first for a little while, but you won't be able to sustain it because your liver won't be clear and available to metabolize fat and break body fat down because it can't do its job. It's not available. So it's really important. So in the book I have, that's part of the steps is it's like step 5 or whatever, is to clear your liver so that we can prepare your body for optimal fat mobilization when you're wanting to lose body fat when we get to that step.
Blew my
that
mind.
stage.
Blew my mind. Like my husband has started medication for high cholesterol, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
can't eat red meat. He gets, so his diet is blah 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 blah. But nobody nowhere has said anything about, well, maybe we should work on cleansing your liver. No. And it was like, duh. It was like the biggest light bulb moment when I read that part.
Yeah.
To read the book, you guys have to read this. That part alone was like, wait a minute. And then it just got me thinking, because you were mentioning hormones like oxytocin, which obviously is a big one when you're going to labor, and trying to minimize your stress, and cortisol, how to get those balanced. And this is something that we're always discussing in pregnancy and delivery and postpartum. So is this kind of diet something like to cleanse our liver? Is that something that we can do, like start while pregnant to maybe help not gain so much weight, or help?
I know, right? Yeah, to prepare.
We're always like, don't lose weight in pregnancy, and I'm on board with that one. Like, don't start a diet, but there has to be some types of foods and some kind of cleansing that we do, right? To just make sure that our hormones are ready for delivery and then also for recovery. Can you touch on that at all?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about that, but also remind me to talk about oxytocin and the hormonal hierarchy.
Of course.
I think it'll really help. Okay. So I'll talk about liver or detoxification first. So, there's, first of all, there's cleansing, there's detoxing, and there's fasting. So a lot of times people will intermix those 3 words, but they're very unique. So cleansing is basically cleansing out your body at the cellular level. So usually doing juice cleanses or something that cleanses and purifies your body. Detoxing is usually focused on a specific organ system where you're clearing out toxins, or those organ systems that are overloaded with excessive toxins. Your body has a natural way to clear toxins from your liver, from your intestines, and from your kidneys. But sometimes they get overloaded, especially with our environment today. So it's important to at least once a year to do a detox to clear toxins from those major organ systems, just for your overall health. And then she's talking about parasite and candida cleansing. That's really, so cleansing is cleansing those out, right? Not detoxing them. We're cleansing those out using food and specific remedies that I have outlined in my book. Okay, so those, and then fasting, people talk about fasting a lot. Fasting isn't a phase. It's actually part of our human nature since the beginning of time. And so fasting is used also as detoxification, as cleansing, and a method for self-healing your body, and also for body fat loss. So there's so that fasting covers all of the things: cleansing, detoxing, body fat loss, and anti-inflammatory. So anyway, okay. So as far as cleansing and detoxing while you're pregnant, or before you're pregnant, would be the best idea. If you're trying to get pregnant, I would say that would be fabulous. Doing a liver detox and cleansing parasites and candida would be really good, because it'd be setting you up for maybe reducing your nausea, like me with a lot of nausea. If I did that in advance, I maybe wouldn't have been as bad. Especially with candida. Candida is a fungus that's naturally found in our intestinal system, but it overgrows very easily. It overgrows with sugar, with toxins, and with stress. Any kind of stress, whether it's physical, emotional, mental stress. So, and alcohol. So we all have it. It's just how much of it do we have? And I know also when you have your baby and you're nursing, thrush, right, is kind of common. That's actually candida. So if you can clear your candida before you have your baby or before you're pregnant, and also clear your liver, I think it would set up a really good foundation, and parasites, good foundation before. So that way it's a lot easier, and you'll have less cravings, actually significantly less cravings, carb or sugar cravings. And then also avoid any nausea, or limit it. And then also, what was the other thing we're talking about? Thrush with your baby, or mastitis infections. When you're nursing, what are the infections called?
Mastitis.
Mastitis. There we go. Yeah. So that'll really set you and your baby up for better health.
So before.
Yeah,
And then, and
before.
then,
Yeah, yeah. You
and
don't want to do
limiting,
it during.
yeah, and then limiting
Mhm.
maybe during, and let's say you're pregnant and you never cleanse out. Maybe you
Right.
don't want to do a full cleanse right then. Your body is going to be so
Mhm.
busy caring for this baby and growing this
Mhm.
baby that it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be focusing on too much else, but maybe limiting how much extra toxins we're putting into our body.
Yes, yeah, for sure. That's a good idea. Yeah, because so the idea with not detoxing when you're pregnant is you don't want to give your baby the toxins.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
when you're detoxing, you're pulling it out of your system and it's circulating in your bloodstream. And
yeah.
then of course your baby is connected. So they're gonna get those. You don't want
Keep them
them,
in your
obviously, the
fat
baby to get
cells
those.
for right now.
Yes. And then even while you're nursing, you don't want to detox either. Same reason, right? Baby's still using you as a food source.
Mhm.
So you want to wait usually for detoxification, or really like focusing on weight loss. I would say after you're done nursing. I know it sounds hard for some women, but I know a lot of times too, nursing in itself really helps with body fat reduction and hormone balance anyway. And bonding, baby bonding helps a lot too. So I know for me, when I had my first son, I did everything by the book because, I just didn't know what else to do. And then as I got more
Yeah,
experience, I felt
those
comfortable
books always
co-sleeping.
change. They always tell you that. As soon as you do it, you're like, wait. Well, I followed the book 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then you get more experience. Like, oh, this is fine. And then I remember just accidentally falling asleep one day, nursing my baby in bed. And I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh wait, we both slept so good. Like this is so good. Like, I think this is okay. And you don't, as a mom, you have your intuition. So you sleep kind of, you're not totally deep. It's cool. Anyway. So
Yeah,
for me, I was like, wow, I
yeah,
can still do this. But I think for me, it was that oxytocin. So we'll talk about that now too. So
yes.
the
Let's dive into
oxytocin,
oxytocin.
yeah, so oxytocin helps in so many ways. So oxytocin is actually the love hormone. So in scripture, there's scripture that says perfect love casts out all fear. And that's actually what I have on my little tattoo here. It's perfect love.
Oh,
So it
cool.
reminds me in my recovery, a lot of my issue was major anxiety about life, about trust, stuff like that. So for me, perfect love casts out all fear. And fear has to do with punishment. That's the rest of the scripture. But love has to do with like peace. So anyway, so oxytocin, the love hormone. There's actually a hormonal hierarchy I learned about a few months ago. But the hormonal hierarchy starts with oxytocin, the love hormone. And if the oxytocin is high, the rest of your hormones are very happy. Everything is balanced, happy, content. So we have oxytocin. And then right below that in the hierarchy, we have cortisol. So cortisol is the stress hormone. So the antithesis, right? The opposite of the love hormone, oxytocin. So cortisol is elevated in fight or flight, or freeze. I guess if something stressful happens, we either don't do something or we run away or try to fight it. So fight, flight, or freeze. And when oxytocin is elevated, your liver is actually responsible for processing cortisol. So when cortisol is going through, you don't have any availability for hormones to get metabolized through your liver because it's so busy with cortisol, your liver, right?
Mhm.
So then a lot of times women end up with high estrogen, or usually estrogen or progesterone, when their stress levels are high, and also weight gain is also a thing because your hormone levels are off, first of all, and then your body's stressed, and then we're usually stress eating. And you can't metabolize fats when you're stressed. It's because cortisol likes to keep your liver busy, and all the things that need to be balanced get out of whack. So, but if you have oxytocin in your life, it trumps cortisol. So even if your life is stressful and things are crazy or unpredictable and hectic, um, if you honestly get a hug from somebody chest to chest, if you put your baby and its head on your chest right here, there's a center in your body here. If you just put even a heavy weight here, it relaxes and calms and elevates oxytocin. Getting a hug, petting an animal, having a meaningful conversation with a friend or family member elevates oxytocin significantly, and then you feel heard and you feel legitimized, you feel accepted. So watching a funny movie can even do it with somebody.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling stressed, do your best to look for ways to elevate oxytocin, the love hormone, and everything else. Gratitude, that's a big one. Gratitude. If you have nothing else to do, if you can't find anybody to talk to or give a hug to, just start whatever you can think of from the most minute, tiniest thing. Just start listing everything that you're thankful for. And all of a sudden, you're going to feel cortisol go, whoof,
Yeah.
and you're going to feel brand new.
That's
So, So cortisol or oxytocin, cortisol, and then we have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. That's the hormonal cascade. Again, if oxytocin's high, all these sex hormones are doing good. If cortisol is high, they're all over the place. And then let's see below that. So we have cortisol, and then I think that's it. Like there's one more. Maybe I'll think about it. But anyway, those are the main ones. That's how to. Oh, insulin. There we go. Insulin. So insulin is just below your reproductive hormones. So if insulin and blood sugar is high a lot, and all the hormones are off, that's actually the recipe for body fat gain or accumulation. So do you want me to go into calories part?
Let's do that. Yeah,
Okay.
because now we're talking, okay, calories in, calories out, but it's kind of not that way. Like for a set calorie diet to lose weight, it's so many more variables than that. So let's dive into calories. Yeah.
Okay. As I'm talking about the hormones, this is where the weight loss comes in, or body fat loss comes in. Yeah. So body fat loss really it's a hormonal issue. It's an issue of hormones, not an issue of energy. So, which sounds weird because, yeah, of course, if you were eating 2,200 calories, all of a sudden you drop down to 1,200. Yes, you will lose weight initially. But what's going to happen over time, which I've learned in my private practice, is over time, your metabolism is going to lower to match the amount of calories that your body's getting. So then you just start maintaining. And then you have to lower more. Then your metabolism goes down. But then now you're at nutrition deficit because it's impossible to get enough nutrition with as many calories as you're eating. So let's say you're eating 800, then you're just not doing well. Your body's now stressed out. So it's not a good thing, right? So like I said, you will lose weight initially, but it's going to be very hard to keep losing because your metabolism and our bodies are wired for survival, and it's going to do whatever it can do to keep you alive and well, which is an amazing blessing. I'm always thankful, like, wow, God, your bodies are so amazing. How they do their thing if you know how to help it. Okay. However, on the other end, being a hormonal factor for body fat loss is insulin, that hormone, and your blood sugar are the ones that are responsible for whether or not you deposit extra fat on your body. So fat cells, again, I'm super thankful for fat cells. They're put on our body in order to keep toxins away from our major organ systems, usually on the periphery of your body, right? Your hips and thighs. We don't like it socially, but it's an amazing thing, on our arms and things like that. But if you have excess of it, it means you're storing too many toxins. So body fat cells store toxins, excess toxins. They store the estrogens that went bad, they're toxic estrogen, body fat, of course, water, and excess carbohydrates. So all the things that your body doesn't want, it stores it there. So if you have excess body fat, you have a lot of toxic load on your body, and it's going to cause inflammation, early aging, maybe even premature menopause, things like that. So premature menopause is actually a stress thing. If you're stressing out a lot, you'll go into menopause way too early. That's a whole nother story. It's
stress out a lot, you probably go into labor too.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That it's just like your body's like, I can't do this, or can't.
So what's going on in your life?
Yes. That's why I start with my one-on-one clients. That's what I do.
Reconstructing my whole house, and so there's okay, yeah, that's good.
There's a lot of stress. Too much cortisol running around for the hormones to do their thing. Okay. So insulin. So if your blood sugar is elevated a lot, so insulin, what its job is to metabolize carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, most people know, but so wheat, like flour, sugar, some vegetables, fruit, grains are carbohydrate sources, which is most of our diet. But if your blood sugar is constantly getting peaked from a lot of carbohydrates, no matter what kind of carbohydrates they are, insulin's going to respond. So insulin comes from your pancreas. Insulin's going to respond, get the carb, or open up your cells to bring the carbohydrate into your cell for energy. That's how it works. But if this keeps happening over time, and then your blood sugar goes up and then comes down, then insulin's like, I need help. So it's just a lot of up and down. And when that happens over time, it signals your body to store fat. That's what it does. So that's how it's a hormonal issue. However, if you're keeping your insulin low and your pancreas is happy, it's not having to work so hard all the time, then it's not going to, just say this is your blood sugar level and like normal, and your insulin's like not having to do much work. If you're keeping it under that radar, or your blood sugar under the insulin radar, it's not triggering insulin, then your body's going to start turning to body fat for fuel. So if we have two energy systems as humans and mammals as well, different mammals have different things, but as humans, we have carbohydrates for energy, stored carbohydrates, and we also have fat for energy, stored fat and dietary fat. So once you use up your carbohydrate stores their carbs are stored in your muscles, carbs are stored in your liver primarily, also different parts of your joints and your brain and your eyes and things like that. But once you use up your carbohydrate stores, then your body's like, oh, okay, well, now what am I going to do for energy? Then it's like, okay, I'm going to go to the secondary gas tank, like kind of like a electric vehicle. It's like, just switches gears, right, to electricity. And then you're going to go to your body fat for fuel, and which is completely normal. Our bodies are designed, we have a whole metabolic system to do both of those things equally efficiently. But many of us, especially over the last 15, 20 years, have been taught to eat small, frequent meals throughout the day to lose weight. And there's zero research. I can't find anything that says that that's actually a way to elevate your metabolism. It's not. It's just stressing out your digestive system from having to work a lot. So if you are spreading out your meals, we talked about fasting, spreading out your times, spreading out meals between the time you eat, getting your digestive system a break, then your body's like, okay, well, there's no food coming in, but I have lots of extra stores. I guess I can use those. So you start training your metabolism to go to your body's stores for energy and actually prefer that, which is called metabolically flexible. So metabolically flexible means, like, for example, let's say you practice a fasting lifestyle for 6 months and your body's used to doing that. And it's conditioned metabolically to use body fat for fuel and nutrition too. And then you go on vacation or you have a holiday and you're like, oh, who cares? I just want to eat what I want whenever I want. And you do, it's fine. But then when that's over and you come back to your regular lifestyle and you come back to fasting and eating healthy nutrition, your body has muscle memory, just like with exercise. It's fasting and fitness are very similar, like systems. Like your metabolism has a memory and remembers, oh yeah, fasting. Okay, now I'm going to go back to burning body fat for fuel. So it takes conditioning your body, just like conditioning your body with exercise. You're not just going to go and run a 10K when you've never run before. You're going to build up to it, and fasting is the same way. If you're new to fasting, you want to start with like a 12 to 14 hour fast, maybe closing your eating window at 7 p.m. and opening it up again at 7 a.m. just to get started, and then gradually push your breakfast up a little bit more or back a little bit more over time. But I have a whole fasting schedule that you can use for balancing hormones. There's a whole thing to this, but I just wanted to give you all the basics of how body fat loss works.
Yeah, it's stating about the 5 or the frequent meals throughout the day, how that's not really backed up with evidence and that it's actually fasting. So it's surprising, right? I think I've gotten on that page a little bit ago too. It's a very like paleo and keto and it's kind of all rolled into one, which it's just an evidence-based lifestyle eating way to eat. My coach, I told her, I'm like, I'm hungry, and she's like, good.
You could get dishes. I know.
I was always under the impression, like, if my body thinks that I'm always going to be getting food, then it'll be okay to grow my metabolism. So I'm just eating throughout the day. I don't want to be hungry because I don't want to scare my body to have to store it away for later. So then when she said, I'm like, well, I'm hungry. She's like, good. It should be hungry. It should
So speaking of hunger, I'll just address hunger real quick, just because it's like the elephant in the room. In my book, I say, oh, it's the hunger is the elephant in the room, but we're going to talk about it because you're like, what about being hungry?
Scary.
It's scary. But it's okay to be hungry, embracing it. But it's really, for some people have had issues growing up, where maybe their parents weren't attentive to them and hunger has a deeper meaning. It's scary to be hungry because it has a deeper meaning. I have a whole video on hunger and emotions, but generally from a physical standpoint, so ghrelin's the hormone that produces the growling in your stomach. And it goes in waves, 20-minute waves. And for 20 minutes, ghrelin will wave your stomach and make you feel hungry. But it actually goes in response to its conditioning of when you normally eat. So if you normally eat breakfast at like between 7 and 9 a.m. or however,
10.
ghrelin will be like, oh, it's time. It prepares your stomach for digestion, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But what I tell my group and my clients to do is listen to how does your body feel? If your body feels fine, and if your stomach wasn't growling, you wouldn't know you were hungry, you'd be fine, right? But with fasting, I teach them too, as they start to listen and learn their bodies. If you're feeling like you're getting a bad headache, you're feeling nauseated, your body's achy, like your body's telling you things, then break your fast. And I have a whole bunch of info in here about how to break a fast and when to break a fast and who shouldn't be fasting. So people who shouldn't be fasting are, unfortunately, pregnant women shouldn't be fasting. Women who have a history of eating disorders who aren't recovered or just are kind of on the fence. Children should not be fasting until they're fully grown. Then to do that. If you're on medications that you need to take food with, you can fast, but you need to consult me, a dietitian, or your doctor to find out when a good time is to time it. Diabetics, it's been iffy, but they can. But you just, again, have to have the right people in place to show you how to do it. But yeah, so just kind of keeping, that in the back of your mind as far as
right. So yeah, so this is good. This is good even if for like an audience is pregnant, because they are having it in the back of their minds that when this baby comes out, what are we going to do to get rid of this extra weight? So it's a really good time to start building better habits in general, about the times you eat and what you eat, what you're putting in, limiting how much processed foods and foods that are just contain no nutrition. Like you really focus on a nutrient rich diet during this time, balancing your hormones, meaning like promote that love hormone, that oxytocin. If things are stressing you out, you have to, if it's your job or your partner, you have to fix that problem. And it's what is the priority there that's making you constantly think about it? Is it limiting your sleep? Is getting a good sleep routine as well? This is the time during pregnancy, because when your baby's here, I always say, like, start the routine now, because once your baby's here, that is not the time that you want to start thinking of some good habits that you might want to start creating. That baby's going to take over your whole world. And if you already have these habits, if you already have good nutritional or getting better nutritional habits and sleep routines and all these, maybe walk outside first thing in the morning.
Yeah, or like exercise too, right? So that's the thing, right? It still is the same, right? If you're exercising before you're pregnant, it's still fine to exercise during your pregnancy.
Yes.
But still, just building that healthy lifestyle.
Right. No, nothing extreme. We're not saying run to the gym and start the weightlifting at 7 months pregnant, because you're like, no, it's just building healthy habits and routines around sleep and nutrition and movement. We have to move our bodies, and these are all going to set you up for afterwards in postpartum and recovery. And when you feel ready, maybe you have built up these routines and habits so well, you're going to notice, you're like, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling good, and you're done breastfeeding and you're like, okay, I want to kick it up a notch, right? You've already read the book, you've already done the research, you're like, I am ready and prepared mentally, spiritually, and physically to do the thing. I'm going to cleanse my liver, cleanse out the candida and the toxins, and get rid of maybe the sugars, kick that habit, and then that's as far as it goes, because I'm a chapter.
I'm thinking too, and then if you want to get pregnant again, right? If you're living out this lifestyle, it's going to be easier.
Oh, so much easier
in between babies.
And when your body feels clean and your mind feels clean, it's so much easier to stay present and mindful and enjoy your life and your moments when you're newborn.
You can be more available for your baby. And because even although it's after 40, don't be scared away from that, because I talk about how to fast according to your menstrual cycle. And it's super important. So just to throw this out there real quick, but men, they can fast whenever, because they don't have this menstrual cycle that women have, and fasting, testosterone loves fasting. So, but with women, it's very unique. The last 10 days, we talked about this before, but your last 10 days of your menstrual cycle before it starts is the nurture phase. That's what you're going to be focusing on when you have your new baby, is that nurturing yourself, nurturing your baby. And then once you start having a cycle again, whenever that might be for you, then you can start looking into, okay, on tracking your cycle just for the sake of tracking it for your health, or if you want to get pregnant again. But then also, I talk about fasting a lot, but the opposite of that is nutritional like healthy feasting. So feasting on foods that are going to be, I call it life-giving, nurturing, building foods, life-giving foods. So they have their place, but it's nutrition is as vitally important as taking a break from eating, from fasting. So just always remember that, and use this time to nurture yourself and your baby. Yeah.
It's all about balance. Balance in life, balance nutrition, balance our head.
Yes, exactly.
I like that you brought up the 40 part, because as I was reading it, I just kept thinking, I'm like, I wish I knew this stuff 10 years ago.
I know.
It's just, it says over 40. We know, you and I were both over 40, and we know that the struggles are real as our habits have creeped up over us, and now we're finding it a little harder to do the things that worked so well 10 years ago.
Yes.
I'm like,
It's
dude,
another season of life.
set myself up a little better. So if you're in your 30s and you're pregnant, or 20, this you're gonna be 40 one day, right?
Yeah.
So
Or I think of it like the different developmental stages, like from you're a baby, then you're a toddler, then you're a child, then you're a teenager, then you're I guess you're ready to have a baby, reproductive years, and then you go into your menopausal years and then beyond. So there's like, we've gone through all of those other things, or are going through the years for pregnancy, but then the next years are going to come. So it's just kind of, even like for me, I never thought of it ahead of time. I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. This is where I'm at right now. But just to be aware, and so many women don't talk about it. It's so important to know how to exercise according to your cycle, and how to fast and eat according to your cycle. And I have a whole chart on exactly how to do that in the back of my book, on what to eat when, and when to fast when, according to your cycle. So you don't have to think, you just, oh, okay, days 1 to 10. Like right now I'm in that. So I'm like energetic. And that can really work. You can really work out between the first 10 days. And then when you're ovulating, you can do it again, so it's just honoring your body at different phases, and being okay with where you're at. It's like, this is where I'm at right now. Honor your body, love your body no matter what, but then also honor it by taking care of it as best you can.
And have grace. I love that.
Yes, grace.
Well, awesome. Cynthia, one last thing. So
yes.
Before we go, if you could give us, so we have the women are listening, or even maybe men. My husband, maybe he still hasn't listened yet, but he will. But we're talking about going through these waves of hormones from adolescence to fertility and pregnancy and postpartum, and now perimenopause. We're in our 40s before we know it. What is one thing that you could leave us with, some advice from your experience and your years in this field, to help us ride this wave? You mentioned grace, you mentioned getting to know your body. What would be your top tip to leave us with?
I would say really know your body. Like, get really in tune with your body specifically, and to run your own race. Like, this is you. And I tell my groups, I tell the women at the end of this book, like, do your thing, and let like, if you're running like on a track, stay in your lane. Everybody's doing their thing, and every outcome is different. Real quick, we have a wellness onion. I think of wellness as an onion with many layers to it. Everybody's in a different place in the wellness onion. And doing these steps that I have in my book, we're all going to do the same steps together, but your different layers might get, the top layer for you may be weight loss. It may not be. Maybe the priority for you is anti-inflammation, so your joint pain's going down. Maybe it's better hair, nail, and skin health. So there's different layers, and wherever you are at, it's personal to your own health timeline. So just do the work. You're going to get the result, because this is working with our bodies, not trying to push them to do something. That's why I love this. It's working with your body's system, not trying to make it do something it's not natural. So, and optimizing it. So just, stay in your lane, focus on you, do your thing, and stick with it. And it's going to be great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and
Yes, it's
writing
my
this book
pleasure.
and sharing your knowledge.
Yay.
This is an extensive course. This is a huge thing. You can become a client and work with Cynthia if you want to. I can see
Mhm.
how working with you would be so beneficial and learning these things. But that
Mhm.
you just gave it to us in such an easy to read book. If we can
Yeah.
just start there,
Mhm.
you can get it on
So
Kindle right now. I don't know if it's gonna, once this is released, it may not be free anymore. So sorry for you guys, but if you're following me, I'll be promoting it as well. Um,
yeah.
just because I'm
So
here to support women, and
Mhm.
you're doing such a great mission.
Thank you. Thank you. So the book itself also comes from a course called The Ageless Body Blueprint: How to Be Fit, Fabulous, and Fierce After 40. So if you like the book and but you want some accountability, you can also be part of that group. It starts September 9th, 2024. We have rounds all the time, so you can let me know. And then real quick, I also have an Etsy store with all these meal plans on there. So if you go, it's called Fit, Fab, and Fierce is my Etsy store, and you can download all the meal plans there too, and other cute mugs and t-shirts and cute stuff.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, those are my
We
main
can find
main
you
hubs.
at cynthiaray.com,
Yes, all that stuff is
on
there.
Instagram or Facebook, right? At
Yep.
Cynthia A. Ray. Is that
It
right?
is. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will put all your how to
Thank
find
you.
you in notes in the description, the show description.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
uh,
then if you want to do a free 30-minute consult for nutrition, I'm happy to answer your questions and we can and get you some tips to go. So
amazing, Cynthia. Thank you
yeah.
so much. Congratulations on your book, and
Thank
we will talk
you.
soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.